This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Minnesota Apple Grower Association board member here. I just want to know which orchard Adam is calling in from. I'm sorry I did not establish that.
I don't think he would tell you.
I don't think he should, because then, like I said, all the folks who have opinions on the quarterback position would be saying, Adam, here's what the Vikings should do. Right? I mean, let's be honest. So I think it's unlikely. But it's a good apple orchard day. Nice, crisp, breezy, sunshiny.
Well, and the advantage when you have
67 degrees,
a flexible job,
that's true.
Is you can pull up Tuesday at 3:00, right?
Yeah,
so it's probably going to be pretty quiet there. I always think the best time to go to an orchard is during a Vikings game on a Sunday, because people are watching the game. Just DVR.
That's
been my theory on everything.
Yeah.
The pumpkin patch, the orchard.
You could say that about any place. Mall of Hysteria is actually, decent to navigate. When the Vikings are playing. There's no better time to go to the Mall of Hysteria.
Just DVR it.
Yeah.
Go get your errands done and watch it later. And by the way, I'd go to the Pine Tree Apple Orchard. That would be my pick.
All right. 952 guy writes, Dan, you're spot on with your assessment of McJesus' extension, contrasting with Kaprisov. The Athletic outlined it in a piece last night. The Wild were on the loser side of the ledger, given the bounty they paid. The Wild's 97 versus the Oilers 97. By P.S., the over-under for Kaprisov games played this year is at 59.5.
Tweet that.
Is that a cheap shot, or is that a legitimate factual? I assume that's established by Vegas.
I assume they do have those.
59.5. Ugh.
Maybe not Vegas, but some of the websites.
Right. Vegas maybe would not do it.
So missing 22, 23 games?
That's too many for me.
It's like a quarter of the season again.
Yeah, I don't want to have that happen again. 507 guy is standing tall for the individual suggesting that it's only me perpetuating the quarterback controversy angle. He's alluding to the counterfactuals about Rodgers and Darnold that you and Common are both talking about day after day. It's a frustrating media jackal narrative, because if they had kept Arnold or signed Rodgers, y'all probably would have spent this many segments complaining that we didn't give our new quarterback, JJ, a try. I would say to 507 guy, you can, if it's easier to dismiss me as the boogeyman in this case, go ahead. You can lie to yourself and say that's what I would have said. But I'm on record, it's not that hard to find, as saying I would have taken the plunge on Aaron Rodgers. And the Vikings had the opportunity to do that. Now, that doesn't mean if they'd done it and Rodgers played poorly that I was going to deny that he was playing poorly and that it doesn't look like a good decision. But 507 guy, I don't want to disappoint you, but no, that's not the way this game is necessarily played. That you just reverse fields and you go the other way. What I might say is the JJ people were right if Rodgers struggled and there was a soap opera here, but you can't have it both ways, because I'm not trying to have it both ways. I, on the front end, all along said I would take the plunge on Aaron Rodgers. Now, I didn't say take the plunge on Darnold, given how much money it ended up being.
3 and 110.
Danny Dimes, I don't know. I mean, I guess I didn't even realize. I think Seifert's going to join us tomorrow, and maybe we can talk about this with him, that allegedly the Vikings did offer him more money to stay than he ultimately took with the Colts. But that Dimes, who, by the way, right now, the number one in QBR, the number 1 and 2 ranked quarterbacks in the entire league are Dimes and Darnold. Now, Darnold did throw a bad interception. He played brilliantly against Tampa Bay, threw a late, like his worst interception of the year. He has not made very many of those faux pas. It's a bad interception, but I think they're 1-2, if I'm not mistaken, in QBR. There are people who are trying to use Carson Wentz's QBR against him in saying you really don't have to keep playing him because he ranks 26th, one behind A-Raj. who is at 44.5. Carson Wentz is 41.5. Not great if you believe in the QBR standard, although I'm more interested in having 1, 2 out of 3. However, if you want to believe in the QBR, J.J. McCarthy's QBR is so bad it's not even on the board.
Yeah, I don't even see him here.
He's at 21.6. That's 5 points worse than the quarterback ranked number 32 right now, Cam Ward.
Who's not been very good.
He had some moments in his last game, but has not been very good either. So,
and Cincinnati Bengal Joe Flacco.
How about that story?
I know, it's crazy.
That's a division trade, right?
It would be.
So it must be Flacco was given too much flack to Browns officials about the demotion because he said he wasn't ready for it, wasn't pleased about it.
Which is bizarre.
Extremely bizarre. Beyond that, I just don't think he has much left. Now, maybe if you're Cincinnati, you say chip chair and a chance. We're desperate, so we'll take a look at him because Browning, I guess, has not been very impressive. Right. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you give yourself another option. I don't blame them for scrambling to give it a try. I just think he's pretty close to done.
He's 40 years old.
Yeah.
He's been washed for a while.
I think he has.
I mean, we saw that even last year when we played him.
Yeah, wasn't that game here?
Yes.
And he didn't even look interested to me.
No.
I know he's Joe Cool, but he just looked like,
no.
Yeah,
that
should I try that pass? No, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I just didn't think I didn't think he was bothered by anything, you know? So we'll see where it goes, but I'm not very optimistic for him. Or for the Bengals, although they again are in a very difficult spot. When the McCarthy era fails here and he moves on to his next team and Zach Halverson follows him, can I have his job on the morning show? No better time.
Well, hold on. The follow-up text to that would be, what do you think Halvy's job on the morning show is? Like, what do you think Halvy does?
That's a very good point. Yeah, you're right.
And then we'll square it up with what he does.
Dan, I haven't heard you openly say you think Wentz is going to lead the Vikings to the Super Bowl. If you don't say that and don't believe that, there's absolutely no reason to start once McCarthy is healthy. I've heard this argument before. I don't buy it. What this argument conveniently ignores is even if I think Carson Wentz is not going to lead them to the Super Bowl, I have to be convinced, and the coaches have to be convinced, that this quarterback of the future is not overwhelmed in the present enough where with this core of players, you actually serve everybody's interest trying to play it out a little bit longer. Now, if you come to the conclusion, no, we figured some things out, next time he plays, he's going to be in a lot different place. I don't know how you can guarantee that, but you convince yourself of that, okay. But I'm not buying the Super Bowl threshold thing means nothing to me because it leaves out the important piece. I can think McCarthy is the man eventually and still wonder, based on what I saw, whether they asked him to do too much too soon and that he actually might be one of those guys, given his age and even the kind of offense that he led in college, that he might need a little bit more time than even KOC thought he did, sitting and watching and practicing and so forth. Now, he can come back against Philly and be great. You know, I mean, who's to say? I rule nothing out, and I've said all along, I tend to think these things take care of themselves. The sooner or later, Wentz will come back to the pack enough that it makes the decision a lot easier, and you go ahead and get going with, you start the future right then.
That kind of seems like how KOC is playing it too, right? When asked about it in London, basically doing I'm excited to get back on. I'm excited we got to win, and we'll get back to the States, essentially. He's not really engaging.
Well, here's what's funny about these guys, and we'll talk to Kevin Seifert about this tomorrow. They've gone from the feeling I've gotten on this trip now that it's over is it did kind of catch up with us.
Oh,
they get a little crazy. It got too much, and I'm going, well, I have very little sympathy because these guys, the smartest men in the room, said, "Oh, we got this.
We're all in.
We know. No. We know how to do this.
Make it 3.
Exactly. Let's just play a month there." So I have a hard time having much sympathy for them now going, God, this is a slog. This is more difficult. And were you with me? You were on last Friday, right?
No, I was in Columbus.
Off Friday.
Yep.
So we talked about this Friday. We're going to get into it with Seifert tomorrow. I had texted you about it. The tension included maybe the first significant brush up between KOC and the Media Jackals in an almost Zimmerized kind of a way, as we started earlier in the week with some of KOC's comments. And I'm curious to get follow-up on it because it sounds like he was bitter with the Souhan column about the suggestion, which Souhan knocked down. He didn't perpetuate it, but he did acknowledge it, that fans had that McCarthy was demoted, that he's not really hurt, and he took offense to that. Even though, as I said in the column, I don't think he tried to fan the flames of it. And then apparently there are a couple other things that have been either written or said that had KOC in almost Zimmerized like mode.
Yeah.
So I want to get more detail on that.
I even thought you could see when he was mad about not being able to get the timeout right away at the end of the game, the Hail Mary. I thought he was as sarcastic as he's ever been with the official.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That was a dude that just wanted to get get the hell out of Europe and get over here.
He's putting his hand in the air.
What do you think I was doing? What was I doing? That was not. That was not the KOC.
The body language was complete. You're 100% right. I had the same thought.
I want to sleep in my own bed. I'm sick of the countryside. I'm sick of the accents. I'm sick of the fish and chips. I just want to go home. I'm sick of having injured guys and having to worry about passports. Let me just get home because this sucks. That's what I thought.
How about one of your key players not showing up for a walkthrough, which I still can't believe.
So it was a walkthrough during the week? Is that what it was?
I believe so. Yes, that's
because do you know how impossible it is to miss a walkthrough when you're sequestered in a countryside villa?
That's the part that I still haven't had it resolved. So maybe Seifert will be able to resolve that as well. I do have a good question to come back with for you that we talked about yesterday because I want to get your view on a line of thinking that has been passed along a couple times regarding the Carson Wentz controversy. But first,
the Fan and two men and a junk truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. 4 o'clock keyword today is credit. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword credit.
Fan.
Here's the theory that's been advanced several times as we return to the program. Don't forget, Coomdog is going to join us to talk some baseball at about 4:30 or so. Louie is in the house and will join in the 5 o'clock hour as well. The contempt towards Wentz is age and his roots. Minnesotans deep down view North Dakota as the annoying little brother. New York looks down on Chicago. Chicago looks down on Minneapolis. Minneapolis looks down on Fargo. Hold on. Let me scroll down here to get the rest of this one.
Do we?
Fargo looks down on Minot. Minot looks down on Estevan, etc. Green Bay is...
Where's Bismarck?
That's not in here. And I can't even read... This may have been a dictated text. Several people have advanced this theory. Do you think there's anything to it? Because I do know for a fact that some of the Wentz Winnebago love goes beyond just watching him play now. He's our guy.
Yeah.
On the other end.
Yeah.
There's love is blind, man. And I definitely think that exists. I have tended to dismiss the notion that Minnesota fans are less likely to even grudgingly pass along praise to Wentz because of his roots, even though he grew up apparently cheering for the purple. Is there anything? Do you think there's anything to that conspiracy theory?
I mean, maybe with a very small faction, but I feel like we claim everybody when it's at a national level.
We do.
We claim everybody.
Does. Lord knows that.
Yeah, I think has Edina taken credit for Wentz?
Probably,
because that's what I'm thinking. I think it would be the opposite, that the fact that he's just from our region somewhere,
right,
that we would be just giddy that he's now getting run for. Who else would he have cheered for? The Minnesota Vikings, of course. So why wouldn't we love him? Yeah, I had not heard that one. That's interesting.
They showed him at the Adrian Peterson historic rushing day.
Yeah, he had some great pictures.
That was the Chargers, wasn't it? I was at that game, I think.
Speaking of Norv Turner, who made an appearance on the show earlier,
How about that?
He was the head coach.
We found out early in the show that the only reason Adam Thielen loves black coffee, no sugar, no cream, naked, no nothing, is the average Norv Turner meeting went on so long and was so over the top.
That's brilliant.
That he said, I got to do something. So that's when he started drinking black coffee. It cracks me up. That's pretty late, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he made it so long.
Yeah.
Midway through his career. It's hilarious.
Here's the take that I just don't understand what people are smoking. Dylan from North Branch writes, you guys are outside your minds if you don't think JJ is starting. We put all of our eggs in the JJ basket. We have to play him. Why? What does that mean? No, the fact is they didn't put all their eggs in his basket. They actually put all their eggs in the basket of several veteran players they went out and signed in free agency. This notion that if you don't play him now, you're never going to find out what he can be, I just categorically reject. I think this league is too much about winning and losing to necessarily throw out the possibility that Wentz ends up playing a little longer. I mean, the eggs, just because the eggs are all our eggs are in the JJ basket, eventually, why do we think, check JJ McCarthy's age?
He's 22.
Isn't he like about 7 years younger than Brosmer?
About,
I mean, he's still one of the youngest players in the National Football League. He looks 12. So I categorically reject this notion that you have to play him. You might have to play him eventually. It's a matter of when you want to start the clock. And did you see what Mark Craig wrote?
No.
Do you remember I don't know if Bud Grant said it first, but he said it. The best ability is availability.
Oh, yeah. It's a great line.
It's a great line. It's been overused, but it says a lot.
It's true.
And Craig, let me see if I can find the exact quote, because he's going to be in the meat grinder also
at the mansions
with the McObos for sure. Let me see if I can find it here. Where's was this the piece? Yeah, I think this was the piece here regarding JJ or his quarterback class, I guess I should say. Was it in this piece? Maybe it was someplace else. I'll find it. But basically, he mentions that from that quarterback class, everybody else has played a bunch. And through no fault of his own, I mean, I don't think he's saying he's not legitimately injured. JJ has easily the least amount of time played. And that, at the very least, has made it difficult to evaluate him properly.
For sure.
So, again, I don't think anybody is... why can't I find it? Did he write it, or was it... I can't remember where it was, but it was... he was trying to do... Craig was kind of trying to do the... at roughly a quarter of the way through the season, a look at the division. Yeah, here it is. McCarthy is one of... He most valuable player... First quarter, according to Mark Craig, NFC North, Jared Goff. You can't argue with it.
Yeah.
He's joined Peyton Manning as the only quarterbacks ever to complete at least 75% of their passes with at least 12 touchdowns and a passer rating of at least 120 through 5 games. Biggest disappointment? J.J. McCarthy. One of 6 quarterbacks drafted in the top 12 a year ago. McCarthy has been healthy enough for 2 starts. 2. The other 5 have started a combined 87 games. The immortal words of Bud Grant, the best ability is availability, never ranked truer around these parts. Now, obviously, he's going to get healthier, and he's going to get a chance to play. It's just a matter of when, and I think it'll come in good time. There are people out there who think they already have concluded that JJ is Christian Ponder 2.0.
I just got a text about that 20 minutes ago. Yep.
I'm not in that group. I'm not ready to say that at all. I think he's a more dynamic player. Speaking, by the way, of dynamic quarterbacks.
That's scary stuff to start saying that, by the way. That's reckless. We need to be careful.
It's early. It's premature, for sure. But that's just the trauma of Christian Ponder, unfortunately.
A lot of things that are easily correctable.
What about, and this is maybe a bit of a non sequitur, but how about the Mark Sanchez story? Is that one of the most bizarre stories in history?
Yes.
Where delivery truck guy is there, he's trying to do sprints, and he's bitter that the truck is parked there, and loses his mind, presumably alcohol driven, right?
Yep.
And ends up getting an altercation with him, and then he gets stabbed. But yet, I think the most serious charges, at least right now, are against
him,
Sanchez, for the injuries that he inflicted on the other individual, who I think first maced him, and then he stabbed him. I'm just trying to figure out. It's past midnight. I guess, well, alcohol is the answer.
That's the answer, yeah. We don't need to overthink this.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're going, well, what do you care about a delivery truck being in an alleyway or whatever it was?
You're not working there.
And somehow he loses his mind over that. And his life is now changed forever.
It is.
It's the strange. And everybody who says they know Sanchez says, well, this isn't the guy. I mean, this doesn't make any sense.
It's bizarre.
It's one of the more bizarre stories we will see this year. And obviously I assume his analyst career is probably over, or at least for now. Right?
It's tough to come back from.
Man, he's the night before he's going to do the Colts game, right? He's in Indianapolis to do the Colts game. Danny Dimes. And
they have to fly Brady Quinn in.
Is that what they did?
Yeah. Yep. He was at Michigan, so I'm sure he just kind of hopped over.
Right. All right, let's make this the bottom of the hour pause, and let's talk some baseball. And more importantly, let's just get caught up with our old friend Ron Coomer for the first time in quite some time. Louis, as I said, will join in the 5 o'clock hour. Stay tuned.
Time now for the Vikings Report on The Fan, presented by Miller Lite. Vikings wide receiver Adam Thielen joins Dan Barreiro next.
Believe it or not, Twins fans, baseball is still being played. We feel about as disconnected from it as one can. Yet
looks fun, too.
It feels like it's another lifetime. It feels like it's been months since the Twins' unfortunate season ended. But our next guest is here to testify that there might be a tomorrow, or there is a postseason. Although, time's a-wasting for the team he covers, the Chicago Cubs. Ron Coomer, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline. Coom Dog, how are you, sir?
Danny, I am doing. I was doing much better yesterday about this time than I am now.
Yeah.
I will tell you that, but it is what it is. You know, we've made it postseason, won the first round of the wild card, and we've run into a little bit of a buzzsaw with Milwaukee. They played a couple of good games, and we're back in Chicago, so we will play tomorrow here at Wrigley. So, you know, we got to win 3 in a row. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but this Milwaukee group's pretty good. But I am doing phenomenally well. I couldn't be, just doing good. Very good.
I will tell you, like I texted you the other night, I'm watching the end of the Cubs clincher in the previous round, and I said, there's ways these days, especially through SiriusXM, to get the local call from you guys on the game. And we're friends. We go way back a long time. But I have no reason to suck up to you right now. I'm just telling you, you and Pat Hughes, I think it's as good a local radio broadcast as you can get, because what struck me, I listened for about an inning and a half. In fact, I went backwards a little bit so I could hear the call, of the celebratory moment and so forth. And what struck me is, you guys have been working together now, I think, for a while. It's just so seamless. You guys have figured each other out, which, as you know, is 80% of the battle when you're on with somebody else. He sets you up nicely. You play off each other so well. I don't know if it's as much fun doing it as it sounds, but it's a great broadcast.
Oh, thank you. That's nice of you to say. It is. We've become very close friends. We were friends before it ever started, and we've just kind of, become buddies. And you couldn't meet two more opposite people on the planet.
Right.
That's my partner and I, but I think that's part of the cool of the whole thing. We just bring something totally different to each other, to the broadcast, to our Cub fans, to the Cubs organization, And I think we really like what we're doing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think when you go, you can hear it in your voice and Justin, and when you're doing things that you really like to do, at the end of the day, then it's going to be better.
Yeah,
and I think I couldn't think of anything better than going to Wrigley Field every day and calling out my office. I've been going there since I was 4 years old, and so, I love Minnesota. I love the Twins. I followed them, and they gave me my chance in the big leagues, both as a player and as a broadcaster. Right. So 2 careers worth of is thanking them for everything that they've done for me. But I grew up as a kid going to Wrigley, and now I'm going there every day. And, you just, it's some kind of fun. And we get a good team to cover. But with that being said, Pat and I are buddies. And I think that's the thing that, we know baseball, but we're friends. And that's a good thing. Yeah.
Well, again, part of, I think on any broadcast too, if there's a sign that the individuals working together enjoy each other on the air, then I think it's more likely that people will enjoy it as well. There's no question. I think that's. Now, I'm guessing there have been some good combos that have hated each other off air and have found a way to fake it.
Yeah.
But, sure. I'm not saying that can't happen, but it definitely comes across. So you mentioned the Cubs down. What didn't we get a 3-run dong in the top of the first, and then Milwaukee came right back and tied it, right?
Yeah. Suzuki hit a big 3-run homer first inning, 3-run bomb, and thinking, okay, if we're settling in here, we're okay. We're game 2, we're okay, and let's see if we can get game 2 and come back to Wrigley tied. And Vaughn, who was with the White Sox for a while, he hit a 3-run homer in the first, tied the game, and I was like, oh boy, this is one of them days, and it just hasn't gone. Cubs, I think, had 2 hits after the first inning, so that makes it a little difficult to win when you don't get many hits post first inning. So it's been a tough series. It just has.
And now,
Milwaukee's playing great.
Milwaukee's playing really well. I think that's going to be an important part of the story. Obviously, the next 2 games are back at Wrigley. Update me. What are Wrigley Field crowds like these days? Like, even let's say if we go back to the World Series team. And the atmosphere, then around Wrigley, is it the same as it was then? Is it even more pronounced? Is it a different kind of crowd? What do you sense these days at Wrigley?
I feel like Wrigley, the pinnacle of Wrigley was 16, right? And it went crazy. And we all knew, you grew up here too, going there, and it was so over, it was so over needed for a fan base to be able to cheer like that. And I think 17, the team did good, but went to the championship series. And then I think we lost some playoff rounds right away. Yeah. And we haven't won a playoff series since 18 here at Wrigley Field, or won a playoff series. So, with fans in the stands. So we did something in that COVID year, but I thought Game 3 of the Wild Card Series was the first time the fans were great in Game 1 and 2 of the Wild Card games, and then we split, and then you're playing Game 3, and that gave me goosebumps. That was one of them. Mm-hmm. Now we're back to the 16 group. From the first pitch of the game, it was on, and it was almost like they weren't going to let us lose. And that's how the game went. It really went that way. And anytime an opposing pitcher had a tough pitch, in an inning, they made it even that much tougher. It was really fun to do. Fun game. Tell
us a little bit about the local angle here. Michael Busch, his season, what you know of him. Obviously, Inver Grove Heights, I believe, is where he hails from originally. Because I've gotten texts intermittently, like all season, from people who either knew him or have Inver Grove Heights or Minnesota connections, and we have not, we really have not talked a lot beyond the Minnesota Twins through much of this season. So tell me a little bit about his season, where he's fitting in these days.
Well, I think he's had an unbelievable season. He's been great. 34 home runs. I think he finished the regular season at 90 RBIs. He has hit 3 home runs already in the playoffs, and basically, Milwaukee changed their pitching plan to pitch away from Michael Busch. So game 2 of the series, they brought in they had an opener and changed their whole program to try to keep Michael out of their harm's way. So that'll tell you all you need to know come playoff time, that the best team in baseball record-wise is pitching away from Michael Busch. That's how hot he is. The other thing about him, I met him 2 years ago, my first day in spring training. I walked up to him, we're in a backfield, and I said, "Hey, Michael, how you doing? Welcome to the Chicago Cubs. I'm Ron Coomer." "Mr. Coomer, how are you?" "My dad loved watching you play." I was like, it was one of them. He's exactly what you would think a really nice Minnesota guy would be, a young guy. He's polite, he's nice, he's a hard worker. He's turned himself into a great player, Danny. He's an all-star player now, whether he didn't make the team this year, but you're 34 and 90, you're playing first base. He's an excellent defender, so he's turning himself into a frontline big league player. And the other thing about him too, I have not met his parents yet, although I know I will because I know his dad's a cigar guy. So I know we're going to end up meeting, but they should be really proud of him. He's a great young guy. He really is. Yep, great young guy.
Over your time in baseball, either as a player or now as a broadcaster, have you run into or gotten to know at all a very acerbic reporter? Used to be a New York tabloid guy. Now he writes for a website called ball9.com named Kevin Kernan. Do you know Kevin at all? Do you know who he is?
I do know who he is, yes.
I had a hunch. Okay, so Kernan, we have him on occasionally. He's a great guest. He's just extremely passionate about the game. But we every time he's on, we have what we call a nerd count, where he can't stand what he describes as the baseball nerds. He thinks the nerds are ruining the game, and so we count up how many times he uses the word in each time he is broadcast. He's with us. So refresh my memory. Update me on where you are regarding the question of the nerds overtaking the game, whether you've come to accept nerddom to a degree that there's a place for it, or you share Kernan's utter abhorrence of everything he thinks they represent and have brought to the game of baseball.
I'm losing connection, Dan. I don't know if I can hear you any longer. No, I think for all baseball guys, that played the game and spent their whole life in the game,
yes,
we have a hard time with that. There's no doubt that. But I do think there is a place for both. I really do. I think that the analytics side of our game has helped the pitching side very much. There's no doubt about that. And I think they have, that has not helped the offensive side. That's just the way it is. I mean, you look at strikeouts are up, batting averages are way down, the offenses are struggling, the guys are, swinging and missing at a record pace.
Yes,
because they want them to do certain. The thing that I don't understand about the offense, and I've been with some great hitting people through my years, and I think I understand hitting pretty well. When you ask somebody to do something, and they do it really well, and then you get mad for them doing what you ask them to do, and then you go against what the result is. Well, that's what you ask them to do. That doesn't mean baseball. But when you're asking guys to try to hit the ball out of the park and hit the ball out of the park, walk on base, and not hit for average, don't care about average, don't care about RBIs, and then you get upset that they strike out 200 times, well, guess what?
Yeah.
Which one do you want? You can't have both, right? So, but see that analytics side, they can't understand that. They can't.
Right,
they've never stood in there. So that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you're getting at. And now the Arises who, played in this series before in San Diego, Nico Horner for us, putting the ball in play, all of a sudden they become really big stories in October.
Sure.
Because why? They can actually put the ball in play and have a good at bat.
Yes.
It's like, hello, I don't know what you're talking about. It amazes me. And, I talk about it on the air, but offense, it's coming back, put it that way. The offense side of the ball we're starting to gain some footing.
Yep.
Because you're seeing that guys putting the ball in play and understanding how to use the whole field and actually be an offensive player.
Mm-hmm.
That's working again, and they're seeing that. And striking out 180 times as a shortstop probably isn't very good.
Ron Coomer joining us. Of course, he's on radio play-by-play color analysis on the Chicago Cubs baseball network. Cubs down 2-0 after losing last night in Milwaukee, and the series will resume in Chicago. Who is the old-time pitching coach for the Braves? Oh, God, I can see him. The guy used to rock back
Leo
and forth.
Mazzoni?
Yeah, Mazzoni. There was a great piece. I don't know if you saw it. Believe it or not, in a non-sports publication, I think The Atlantic, where somebody tracked him down, and he's old school on pitching. And, of course, his issue on pitching is he thinks it isn't a coincidence that we're seeing the number of arms break up, that we are, the injuries, because of all of the emphasis, similarly, on velocity and not enough on the art of pitching. Now, I assume the ball guys would say, well, no, there's a reason we do that, because pitchers can throw this hard, and it's the most effective way to get people out. But where are you on that whole issue of whether that is directly, related to what seems to be a rash of pitching, of arm injuries and, significant surgeries? There's
no doubt that they're related, without question. That's just the way it is. And I think organizations, that's just part of the program. I think for a pitcher to not have Tommy John, they look and go, really? How have you gotten around not having Tommy John surgery? It's just kind of part of the program. I really believe that. And, I had one pitching coach who I'm friends with in the league tell me, and this is an exaggeration, but there's some truth to it too. And he's a big league pitching coach for a long time. He said, I don't have pitchers. I got projectile throwers.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And, for some guys, I think that's true. Yeah. I don't think that's true for everybody.
Right.
But I definitely think there's some guys that, have figured out how to throw the ball extremely hard. And if they can throw 3 balls in the box before they throw 4 out, that's a positive. I don't know if you call that pitching, but that is what it is.
That's the issue. I assume, you always pay attention to the Twins. You have enough connections here.
Correct.
As well. How concerned are you? The season turned disastrous. They got the bullpen at the trade deadline, like almost in historic fashion. Basically, the top 5 relievers all sent away. Rocco, an occasional guest on this show, we had a great relationship with Rocco. He gets dismissed. It happens. That's generally what happens when teams don't do very well, as long as I think these guys missed the playoffs 4 of the last 5 years, something like that. So how concerned, and about the ownership thing, that the Pohlads are going to sell, now they're not going to sell, now they're adding investors. How worried are you about your old baseball team?
Yeah, I think they're in a tough way right now. There's no doubt. I think on the field, we were talking about this. I don't know if we've ever seen quite a dismantling of a team quite like the Twins did this year. That was something.
Yes,
it really was. So then when you get to that point now to build that back, you're talking out some time's got to, things have to work out real well with draft picks. They got to, all these middle of the road signings, not the elite player, but you got to hit on a lot of these guys now just to be competitive, and you don't want to turn into these, teams like, the White Sox were 2 years ago, Colorado.
Yep.
You don't want to turn into that, because then you lose your fan base in a big way, and you become, I think here on the South Side 2 years ago, people were, if they had 500 people on that Tuesday night game, it was, that's not good. So,
no.
I don't, I hope they get it turned around. It's one of those things, the ownership team, I don't know really kind of how things are going. When I left, and Mr. Pohlad has passed, and I know I think his grandson is Joe. Joe. Grandson that's running
Joe's
the team now, right?
The guy right now, yes.
Yeah. And I think some of the people have left that really had a good hold on what was going on. I think Dave St. Peter was, one of the best executives in baseball, and and a guy that, he led Twins.
Yes.
Blue and red. He just did. And you've lost some people in the organization. They fired a year after Paul Molitor was the manager of the year. You fired him.
Mm-hmm.
Those are people that are, they're Minnesota Twins, man.
Yep.
So they've made some mistakes. There's no doubt. And, but they still got Paulie in town. I'd be knocking on his door. I'd be sending him over flowers.
Yep, right.
And, hey, Paul, what are you doing? you busy? We'd really like to have you back. That'd be my first thing to do.
We
One
have
of the best baseball people in our game and get him back in uniform and helping out.
Well,
He's going to be mad at me for saying that, but that's too bad.
That's too bad. Well, we have not had him on in a while, but there's nobody better to talk baseball on the air with, as you know. I mean, when he's going, he's really, in it and into it, he's fascinating to talk to. I have no idea where his mind is now. I just think, man, it's going to be a tough. It's like you said. I think part of it, Coom Dog, is they have to. Somebody is going to need to declare what the vision is. You have to okay, are we going to actually strip more payroll now that we've stripped the bullpen and we're going in rebuilding mode? Can you even afford to do that? What's the plan? I think even Byron, Buxton's a good soldier guy who said, I want to be here my whole career. But even he, towards the end of the season, like, okay, this will be, if we build again, that'll be my third since I've been here. So we sort of got to figure out what we want to do. And that's what's scary. Even now, Joe Ryan questions some things and internally, and that's a tough spot when you have people inside the organization who are generally good soldiers who are saying, wait a minute, now what exactly are we doing? And that's and like I said, I wasn't kidding. I mean, you feel so detached. When your team's not in the postseason, it's much harder to stay connected. Everything feels fresher, and you're more into it if you're a factor or if you're a part of that. And right now, it just feels like it's very far away.
Yeah, it does feel that way. And for the Cubs, I mean, even for people like us, when we're not postseason relevant right up until the end, you shut down, you head to south or you head west, and season's over, and you're not all that overly interested in the playoffs, and you're like, we're done, this is over. So the Twins are an organization. They need to be relevant in baseball.
No doubt.
They get such a great great fan base, a great ballpark. I mean, they just need to be relevant. So hopefully they're going to get that plan together, as you said. And then once you get a plan together, then you can sell that at least
exactly
to the fan base. You can sell that, and it doesn't have to be win tomorrow, but we're building towards something. I think that is something that is in need, no doubt.
Last item for you, and it's great to hear your voice. We're having Patrick Royce in studio on Monday. He doesn't work for this station, but we just there's some people that supersede all the rules, so they let me every once in a while. Usually I bring him in for the fair, and that didn't work out. So we're going to have him in on Monday, approaching, I think, his 80th birthday, by the way. So any special messages for Mr. Royce, who I know you know well?
Tell him he owes me a coffee. I had a great chance. So this year when we came to Minnesota to play the Twins, Patrick and I went out for a coffee, and he interviewed me in Eden Prairie before the series started. And he's one of those people that, he has always been kind of I don't want to say, if you want to know what's going on in Minnesota sports, read Royce's column.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
I would say I got two friends that are that way right now. You and him. You want to know what's going on? Listen to your show. If you want to read about it, listen to read Patrick's stuff. He's going to give you, the high school, the college, the big leagues, the football. He's got it all going. And he's a great guy. We had a great time. We had coffee.
Great.
But those are people that are game and are all of our sports. You can't, they're part of the being of what we do, right? I mean, Minnesota was Sid and Patrick, listening to them two jaw at each other on the sports show. God, that would make me laugh. It didn't matter what the hell they said. It just made me laugh. That's
exactly right.
He is, everybody knows Patrick around the league, and it's great that you're having him on. That's a must listen for sure.
Irreplaceable is the word. He doesn't.
Yeah,
he gets uncomfortable with that. He doesn't like praise sent his way, but irreplaceable is the word.
Ah, Danny, I can be replaced. I can just hear him now.
He's still writing. The guy said he was going to retire like 2 Ryder Cups ago, and he's still going. I said, I think he should. That's the thing. I don't buy. If he's still got the passion for it, he's still got the talent for it. Keep doing it, man. And I think I buy that notion that it's what keeps people alive. You know what they do if they do it well. 100%. That they don't feel obligated because you're supposed to stop. That you have to stop. Don't stop if you don't want to. You know.
He lives on the other side of town. Paul and I still have a place in Eden Prairie. We come into town. He asks to meet. He wants to do an interview. I'm like, sure, let's do it, Patrick. No. We got to go somewhere. We got to do it in person. We got to have coffee. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, Paul is looking at me like, you're making plans to do what on your off day here? I'm like, yeah, I am. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to have Patrick Ricey. He wins.
That's it.
Sorry, family will have to wait a couple hours. That's the way it goes.
Well, good luck to the Cubbies. I hope they can get back in this thing and at least make it interesting. And really appreciate the time on the off day, man. Always a pleasure.
Always for you, buddy. Yep. Miss talking to you.
Thanks, Coom Dog. Me as well. Take care. That's Ron Coomer. We call him Coom Dog. Used to be a regular on this show a long, long time ago. God, what a guy. Let's make this the top of the hour pause. I don't know if we're going to do top 5 at 5. Luigi's in the house, so we could do a little top 5 with Louie and then get into a lot of hockey conversation. Opening night, National Hockey League. Looks like Florida 2, Blackhawks 1 at the end of period number 1 in the first game of what I'm assuming is going to be an ESPN doubleheader. And we'll talk about the McDavid developments. There's a lot to get to with Luigi, some more wild injuries to discuss already. Questions for Louie? 64686, the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line.